Do you want to get your business in front of over 100,000 viewers every month? Advertise with 321 and enjoy the best value in local advertising while supporting free community live streams. Your message will be seen across live high school sports, morning shows, and local events, connecting you directly with engaged audiences, boosting your visibility, growing your brand, and helping us keep these broadcasts accessible to everyone for free. Partner with 321 today and watch your business thrive. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Thursday morning, which means that it is business over breakfast with the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. And today, our co-host from the Ocean Community Chamber is Lisa Kanicki, and our guest today is Jen Brinton, owner of Grey Sail Brewing.
Good morning.
How are you guys?
Good morning. We're great
morning.
on this drizzly Thursday morning.
I know. I love, you can literally, here's the weather report for today. Guys, look out the window behind you.
Yeah,
It looks like it's 8 p.m., not 8 a.m. right now. But thank you for being here. Thank you for braving the weather and the clock to be here.
Sure.
I don't like getting up either. It's fine. It's a busy time of year for the chamber. You guys have the lobster trap tree lighting coming up in 2 days. Lots of stuff going on, and that, of course, kicks off 6 or so weeks of 7 weeks, more weeks of absolute craziness for the chamber. What's going on, guys? How's it going?
Well, it's going great. As is tradition, we're bringing in a different board member each week for these shows. So thank you, Jen,
Thanks
for
having me.
in accepting the invitation and coming here. And it's very apropos because Jen Brinton and Grey Sail Brewing and South County Distillers has been an integral part of all of the holiday events and all of the year-round events that the chamber is a part of. We couldn't do it without their support. And it's not always in very obvious ways. Sometimes it's behind the scene with muscle and might and transportation and encouragement and solving problems on the spot and a lot of other things that are not too showy, but that are crucial for making things happen.
It's the role I prefer. So.
All right. You like the background,
the
supporting
house.
cast.
Right. Yes.
Well, you're awesome. And as you mentioned, Ben, the lobster trap tree is just one thing. She was there loading up the traps and unloading them and providing us with the vehicle. So we couldn't do it without you, just on that one event alone.
Yeah, I think every chamber event I've ever been to, I've seen Jen for years and years and years. It's literally how I know
social
you.
life.
It's sort of my whole life.
All right.
Yeah.
Nah, we're still a little bit defeated.
No, I just accept it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do, right? So what made you get involved with the chamber to begin with is my question.
I was actually thinking about that, not even in preparation for today, but last week while we were outside loading and unloading lobster traps and everything, and had a lot of time to think as I was snipping zip ties that were at my level, which is very low. And I think really it started when we started a business, right? Common sense. You have a business in this region, you're going to become a member of the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. It's just kind of good business sense all around. So that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That was getting the membership. And then I started learning through unfortunate circumstances with Superstorm Sandy, right? 2012. We were in business not quite a year when that hit.
11/11/11.
11/11/11 was our first brew date. Yep. Thank you for that. And here we were. It was the end of October 2012, and we're hit with this storm, literally and figuratively. And we were fortunate that we were not affected downtown or in the North End. but our neighbors and community were. And the chamber was that linchpin organization for everything for Superstorm Sandy. I mean, it was where people went to get their passes, to get access to their homes that were underwater. It was where businesses went for business support, to apply for grants through the state, through the federal government. It was where emergency services work through, through the chamber, again, with those red card passes and just getting everybody down. It was connecting with St. Clair Church, where they were housing, people who came in from out of state for emergency services. So there was just this overwhelming, the Ocean Community Chamber, which was at the time the
Greater Westerly
Pawcatuck Community Chamber of Commerce. I can't remember.
Area.
The
word
Chamber
area
of
was
Commerce,
in,
right?
not community.
So it was this essential force. So we started thinking, and actually Josh, our first brewer, who has his own place now, brewing, and is coming up on his anniversary this weekend for his 7-year. We wound up, thinking like, how can we help? What can we do? So we reached out to the Chamber of Commerce, and we somehow it morphed into, we brewed this beer, Bring Back the Beach Blonde Ale. And because Josh was like, well, we brew beer, so let's brew a beer and donate all the revenues to the chamber to disperse to the businesses, et cetera, or homeowners. There were no restrictions. And it wound up being a really great project. In fact, we were reminiscing last week about how on canning day, the town councilors were there, the town manager was there.
It was fun.
We turned, lemons into lemonade that morning, and we all stood down the center of the brewery around folding tables, labeling the bring, because we weren't.
It was brand new. You were christening it.
We didn't have an automatic labeler.
Yeah.
So we were there labeling it. I remember very specifically Diana and, standing across from
Diana Sarah
standing across
Steve
from
Hartford.
Me. Steve Hartford was there. It was just, there were probably 15 of us there. Then there was Andrew Nathan down at the Cook Goose, who was like, you need to provide breakfast for who? To do what? Of course, we're going to do it. So it was like, oh, great. So now Cook Goose down in Avondale, Watch Hill, they're now part of this project. And it was, that was really my first kind of foray into the volunteerism side of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. I think that Superstorm Sandy was the first time that I really became aware of the Chamber of Commerce in general. I mean, I knew that you guys existed, obviously, but it was the first sort of big thing that happened where you saw the entire community have to come together. And I hate that that's happened multiple times in a little over a decade. But as we talked about last week, no one handles a crisis better than the chamber, and being there for the community. And that was such a that was such a moment where you guys stepped up and showed who you were, and what a pivotal moment in the history of Grey Sail Brewing as well. Like
it was.
Yeah.
Silver linings, though, right? Silver
Yeah,
linings.
silver linings,
You learn about the character
Yep.
of your community. You learn about the heart of the people that own businesses and how generous they can be and how willing they are to help others when there's truly nothing in it for them. You learn about the dedication of your small but mighty staff and how much extra they're willing to go, because, I mean, together we raised, thanks to Grey Sail and fundraisers, over the course of 9 months, over $440,000 that we gave away to those businesses to help them get back up on their feet.
Directly. Like
100%.
No overhead taken, nothing.
Yeah,
It
all admin costs
went
were
direct,
absorbed by us. All staff time was literally 2 full-time jobs for that period of time, which we like to shine when we can, when there's a tangible result on the other end and we can see how our investment literally helped businesses blossom, or in this case, just survive and get back up on their feet.
Yep.
So it's a changing of the gears. I mean, we're always there on a day-to-day basis. I don't like us to be thought of as a cheerleader organization, even though for the community, we are the cheerleader. For a business, I like to think of us as generating revenue, solving problems, giving marketing opportunities.
You're a partner for the businesses.
Very much so.
That's not even, I mean,
Very
you're a
much so.
cheerleader for the community, absolutely. And you put on tremendous community events like we're about to see all of them, not all, but a bunch of them in a very short order here. And you do all of those things for the community in such a beautiful way. But for the actual businesses that are members, you are a partner. And that is a beautiful thing.
And it's a great, again, I go back to this central point. It's a great way for businesses that may not be in the same industry or may even be considered competitive with each other to kind of unite. And that was that shining moment where we just all, downtown wasn't affected. You had restaurants and bars ensuring that, quite honestly, their competition was up and running for their season, so that they didn't miss their 5 months, that they are able to function in this community. And I'm from New Jersey, so, and I had family and friends who were down along the coast of New Jersey and got hit by the same storm. The difference in what our community was able to do and basically bounce back to being a normal community by the summer.
Right.
Versus many other shore communities that didn't even come close, where there were fences up, there was still sand in streets. I mean, the way this town mobilized, from the town itself, the chamber, the businesses, the residents, it was just it was a really great story, I think, kind of in the life of the chamber, in the recent life of the chamber and the community at large. And I think it made, one thing that the chamber is so valuable about that doesn't get seen is the number of businesses that may not be here in this town or this region, if not for making contact with the chamber.
Yeah.
And that was a great way for other businesses or entrepreneurs or people who wanted to expand their businesses to look at this community and say, that's someplace I want to be. And it really generated a lot of conversation and a lot of outlets, a lot of connections for our little quiet pocket of this state, of this, region, to kind of get on the map as far as, wow, that's a community that we would like to be part of.
Yeah.
And the chamber is essential for that, matching the businesses to this community, to their customer base, to
their employees,
different resources, their employees,
programs, grants that might be out there, a lot of different things.
So workforce development's always been a big thing. And I did have the pleasure of sitting on one of the subcommittees that worked with the education center, when that got up and running. And what was
we had a Real Jobs Rhode Island.
Jobs, thank you. I could not think of the name. A Real Jobs Rhode Island partnership with the state for, again, matching students or people on their second career or people coming out of high school, to their careers. Like some people might say, well, the chamber has no business being involved with schools or any, whatever, people might think that a chamber should not be involved in. But the reality is that's our workforce that's feeding it. So having a chamber that is connected to that developing workforce or to the students who maybe looking for career or technical training versus going and leaving the area for college for 4 years, or those coming back from college who want to come back to this area. And, we don't have a lot of big, we're not a big city. We don't have a lot of those big businesses, but we have a lot of opportunity. And again, that's that workforce development, that good match.
For internships as well as jobs. I mean, we're obviously not in the schools, as you say. We don't develop curriculum or anything like that, but we partner where it's appropriate. They have a job fair at the school and we help recruit the companies. That's a benefit for the businesses. It's a benefit for the students that can make money for themselves over the summer and save for college or their car or help their family or do whatever it is that they're going to do. We've run business panels where for example, it's a finance theme, and we'll have somebody from a large institution like a bank, and somebody in accounting at the hospital, and then an individual bookkeeper, different people with different jobs within the field of finance, all on a panel. And any of the students that are interested in that particular track can sign up and go and sit in a roundtable discussion and ask questions and sort of get an idea on the day in the life of a person that has the type of job you might think you want, which leads to internships, leads to connections down the road. And a lot of those programs were much more formalized prior to COVID. We actually had to compete for grants. We were in on the ground floor because we are definitely super competitive when it comes to bringing funding back to our community. And we had our programs renewed for 3-4 years in a row consistently, really high performing, partnering with the Johnny Cake Center, the Ed Center, and all the businesses. And then COVID hit and the schools had to go virtual. And the first thing that happened was, any of the extras, any things like this, like career to work stuff, internship, basically got iced, and it hasn't been resurrected again. So, at some point, everything kind of comes back around again, while we still have an excellent working relationship with Dr. Garceau and are always accessible. We recently did a program partnering with both Stonington and Westerly schools centered around the topic of cell phone use and how it affects students in the workplace. We are obviously not involved in rules at school about what they can or cannot do with cell phones. Our role is, how does cell phone use affect businesses? What are the employers seeing? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? What are some solutions that we could bring to it? How is it leading to maybe certain situations in the workplace regarding anxiety or calling in sick or bullying communications? Or how can it be a tool and not be something that has as many negative effects as it has? So that's a partnership opportunity where we certainly know what our role is and we know what our role isn't. But getting people to talk around subjects that are important in this community that cross over and are not just strictly in the line of business. That's why the word community is in our name.
I love it. That's fantastic. You mentioned the when schools had to switch over things during the pandemic, which was, we just talked about Superstorm Sandy. The next massive horrible thing that happened was obviously the pandemic. But the chamber, as always with you, Lisa, but and always in general, but you had some great leadership on the board during that as well. Jen, you were the chairperson for the board.
Timing is everything in life.
Timing is everything. I was chairman of the board when my
towards the end, it was
role,
like you had about 8 weeks left.
I got the start of COVID, so I got the.
You were the super spreader.
The holy cow, although those weren't the words over the phone, of we need to get together before everything gets shut down and figure out what we're going to do to get through this. And It was, everybody remembers March 13th, that Friday, that was the day the schools announced and everything, and really kind of started that spiral toward everything closing. And yes, I was done with my term at the end of July of that year coming up. So it was an interesting time to be the chairman. But I will say my role, it didn't matter that I was the chairman or who was the secretary, or who was a board member, or who was an interested, an active business owner. Everybody kind of had the same role. And we all worked
all hands
pretty
on deck.
much
Yeah.
evenly. There were no titles. There were no, this one's doing, X amount because of the title versus this one. It was truly an all hands on deck situation of complete, whatever you can do, please help. Because every business owner, every employee who was on the board at the time were in different situations. We had a board member who worked at the hospital, obviously not able to show up at a board meeting and, you know,
Or to help out with any of our
out the other
initiatives. Sure.
businesses because they had
And
their
they were obviously
crucial.
let go from the board. I'm kidding. I'm
Right.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
right.
I
You
am
missed
kidding.
you missed some meetings. Yeah. So it was, you know, obviously, but we needed to be there to support, obviously, the Westerly Hospital at the time and
Yep.
whatever they needed,
And Wood River Health
and Wood River Health, and
all the small businesses.
So it was definitely, that was certainly a wider challenge than Superstorm Sandy, and but that was something that, again, where you read and saw and heard about layoffs and shutdowns and everything, the Chamber of Commerce, ours, instead of shutting down, we made the decision, and it was actually those who were working at the chamber who were really the crucial ones to make this decision, not really the board members, was to not only stay open, but ramp up their presence.
It's funny because I remember it slightly different. Those of us that work there, yes, we want to find solutions. We're like, put me in, coach. We can help. We can make a difference. We can do good things here and help sustain this local economy and be creative. We can. But at the same time, we were concerned, did we as a nonprofit organization have the funds to be able to pay the staff to continue working during these extremely challenging times when we were going to freeze all membership bills, freeze all bills of any kind that anybody owed us any money, because we weren't going to do that. We were going to focus on putting business first, putting our own financial welfare as a nonprofit completely to the side. And how far could we do that? How long could we do that? What was our threshold of pain, knowing what we didn't know, what we didn't know. And so all the chambers around us did close, or they went, one person stayed on the payroll and worked from home and the office was closed. And I remember
and nothing wrong with that. Like,
No,
you do what you got to do.
You
Every
what you have
chamber
to
is
do.
different. They
Every
had
chamber is different.
they
Has
have a
different roles,
fiduciary responsibility as board members to make decisions to protect them. We've been working so hard in the 28-ish years that I've been there. You know, we've had some money put in savings for a new roof, for a rainy day or whatever. It's like, how much of that are we willing to eat into so we don't have to be that chamber that closes, that we can keep working and delivering results? And I'll never forget going into an executive board meeting, and I said, I think you got to lay me off. I will volunteer and do everything I can from home. I will work my butt off, but take me off the payroll, because I don't want my legacy to be that this chamber went under during COVID. I want to, and I was like in the middle of my speech, if you will, for lack of a better words, because I wanted to save our own organization, but still deliver results. I said, keep Maria and Erica on, where my throat was like, and Jen, I almost started crying, just like, stop, because they had already talked amongst themselves. That's their job as an executive committee. Mike Benavides, our treasurer.
Treasurer was integral in just assessing.
Mike's like,
ahead of time.
Talk about a leadership role. He basically cut me off. You cut me off and said, stop, Mike, tell her what we've talked about. And Mike said, you worry about the businesses in this community because that's what you do best. We know what we can handle financially. We'll worry about the numbers on this end. He goes, we can go a year. Get out there and do your job. That's basically what he said, which took all the worry off of me about how can I keep us strong as a chamber, knowing we're not going to have income for God knows how long. He said, don't worry about it. It's going to work out. You do what you're best at. And it gave me creative license to come up with things. And it gave me permission to take that big worry that I had and put it to the side. And I'll always be grateful. Not that I stayed on the payroll, because I still would have done the work from home. Grateful that I had the support, the backing, and that I had the strength and leadership in the executive committee to be thinking that far in advance, that they had my back and they were not. He said, can you imagine if our chamber, what message that sends to the small? He's like, absolutely not.
And at that point, we had already heard from small businesses that were members and non-members with, what is out there, like how do we
navigate this?
We need some creativity to get through this, and it did spawn a lot of new programs with FaceTime or
the Facebook live shopping things kept people
where it kept
completely.
helping businesses go online for selling.
We put money in their
merchandise and
pockets
things
at a
like
time
that.
they weren't even allowed to open because they
Yep.
weren't deemed essential.
Some store owners who had absolutely no idea how to do anything. Fortunately, I have younger people who work with us, so that wasn't us. But and breweries were essential, thank God. So we got to stay in manufacturing. But again, it was one of those things where it really helped with getting those smaller businesses that were retail who couldn't have customers in the store,
Yep.
bringing them into the customer's home, where the customer was really kind of looking for
Stuck,
things to do,
bored,
and whatnot.
home, quarantined.
So it really, and it helped people find new stores that they
Yes.
may never have gone into, because
Oh yeah, for sure.
it brought it right to them. As you know, with social media, when you bring it to somebody, it's a lot easier
Yeah.
to get it, to get them to look or learn something
heard
new.
that.
You've
I've
heard that, right?
heard that.
It's a model that seems to be working. So there was a lot of benefit, and that allowed that to continue. So
We were like, there's QVC, scratch that. There's OCC. Let's
And-
do this.
And honestly, I mean, if you look at like what social media has become since that, platforms themselves have migrated into, in an annoying way, honestly, but have migrated into doing exactly what you were doing.
Sure.
With that. I mean, if you go on TikTok any point in the last year, it is essentially QVC now.
Yes. Yep.
Every single person that has any sort of audience is like, hey, did you know that you can get this in the TikTok shop? Which is like,
they have a shop. I don't go.
yeah,
on
there's
TikTok,
there's a
so-
TikTok shop and you can get whatever.
Okay.
And they've turned the people that are on TikTok.
I'm glad you don't
into
know,
the-
because you're a shop local kind of
Yeah,
gal.
Yeah.
and-
so-
I'm a
so-
walk into the store and actually have a conversation. with
So
somebody
it's this
first.
thing that has become this incredible revenue draw for like random people online, and like you have no idea what the quality control is of that stuff. You guys did that locally,
way
for
ahead of the
local
Yep.
businesses. I mean, that's just
And what I love about it is it got them to think differently. It gave them courage, and it allowed them to see, I can do this myself as a staff. So now I'll just pick one as an example. Eagle's Nest. Gail and her
She's thinking
staff,
of too.
they'll be like, hey, we're having a Vera Bradley sale. It's 25% off. And one of her staff will hold the camera. It's simple. It's
Yep.
free. They're able to do their own promotions
And
now.
they never had done that.
Never.
Before Maria walked in with the camera.
Yeah,
Yep,
and they're
did the
able
show.
to see the number of their followers go up, the number of their customers. And so we all learned new things during that particular crisis,
My
which
staff learned
is a
how to
good
make
thing.
hand sanitizer.
Yep.
Yes, they
Yep.
definitely learned.
So we were battling at the same. So we had just the first week in March.
Every time you are starting something new, you get a
yeah, a little
little hiccup.
Right, Superstorm Sandy with the distillery, with South County Distillers. We just gotten our license the first week in March. I think it was March 5th.
Maybe
That
you
John
guys-
Mancone was down. Yeah, right. Don't start anything new
Maybe you
because
guys should
something
scrap
might
the whole
happen.
non-alcoholic beer thought that you've got going on.
I know,
right now.
right?
Just scrap
Right.
that.
Yeah, that's on the horizon. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes. So, so we were so excited. We had this distillery. We had barrels arriving. We were getting products, ready to distill and start aging bourbon, and it's gonna be great. And our first product was hand sanitizer, because the World Health Organization put out a formula, and it was smart.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was smart because there are a lot of big distilleries in the country, and we were all given the license, literally, to make hand sanitizer if we followed their specific formula.
Mhm.
It's still my favorite hand sanitizer that we have. And for a limited time, while there was the shortage, we were allowed to make it. And we had a local actually physician who probably wouldn't want me to mention his name, who wrote a check and said, here's the money to buy the ingredients to start the first batch. And we did. And then we had phenomenal customers in town. Again, this connection where there were some businesses that were able to stay open and continue to draw revenue Ocean House was one of them. And not that they were even open and drawing revenue, but just out of sheer generosity, they knew they were going to need the hand sanitizer for when they did open. They liked the idea that it was local, it was different. And they actually didn't look for a donation of it, which we were very happy to donate everything to anyone who needed. And that was my job for 2 months, was managing the list, which was everybody who made a request for hand sanitizer and how many bottles they needed and what industry they were in. And I would go down the list. So as Ryan, our distiller, had more available, and my job at night was to hand label everything. Printing Plus did the labels for us, and I believe donated all of them to us. So it was, again, this community thing. And those who purchased these bottles allowed, and we're talking like, I think we sold them for $3 a bottle and they last forever. But we were able to then reinvest and buy more materials and make more sanitizer and just kind of keep that running. The town, was a customer because the town needed it too. And there was no other place to get it at that point, not even, through purchasing agents and bulk and whatnot. And they knew that supporting that, again, went right back to the fire department, the police department, the Amtrak police. I didn't know we had Amtrak police until I got the phone call that said, we heard you have hand sanitizer. Can we drive around the block and pick some up? And I was like, well, there's a list, And so anyway, didn't even know that they existed. But there they were, picking up their hand sanitizers so that they could continue to do their jobs. So it was really just, that was our first product out of the gate. So
they've grown in so many different ways as a business. And I feel so lucky. I'll never forget Jen walking into my office the first time. Mary was
in a carrier, I think.
In a thing over your arm, a baby carrier. So Mary has grown with the business. And as I see her become a young woman, it's like, wow, I knew you when. And even, I can recall going to town hall for meetings when you were wanting to go through your expansion and questions about what color and what style and what should be allowed in the North End. Your footprint has changed the whole image of the North End. You've invested so much. You are an anchor establishment, like a mall would have a Macy's and a JC Penney or whatever. Our community, when you think about the North End, to have such a beautiful property that's growing and improving and is full of vitality out in the beer garden, and there's always good events happening and things. It's wonderful, and it's been great to be a part of it. A small part.
We love our neighborhood. We really do.
The first time that I ever went to the beer garden, I was like, "This is insane. This is so beautiful."
It's a gem, right? It's really tucked away. You just, with the fountain and the trees and the picnic table, it just feels so relaxed.
My girlfriend and I haven't gone on a date in a while, and I was like, "Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?" And she was just like, "Can we go to the beer garden? That's where I
That's
want
every
to go."
guy's dream date, right?
Yeah.
So,
but the first time that you and I ever spoke, I don't even know if you remember this, but was 2020. It was June of 2020. I was producing the Newport Craft Beer Festival, the virtual Newport Craft Beer Festival.
One.
I
did that from my sunroom.
Yep, you did it from your sunroom, and
funny.
And it's even then, all of the a lot of the brewers and a lot of the people that I was talking to about that all looked to you as a leader in that as well. And of course, that ended up turning into a fundraiser for one of your employees. And it was just that's another tremendous, there's tons of incredible stories about how great Grey Sail and you are as a person. And we could go on forever with that. We have a bunch of comments.
Oh boy.
So none of them are bad.
Well, I would hope not.
None of them are bad. Don't worry.
Great way to preface it.
Well, she was like, "Oh God, no, that's fine." Linda LaChance-Capalbo said, "Jen, you rock," and "rock" is in all caps.
Love it.
Antonella Rizzo says, "Good morning, all." coffee cup. I need to
Yay.
get in there with Ben. I've been so busy, but you're never coming on, Antonella. She never comes on. It's fine.
I
We
hope she
love you.
does.
Listen, you're invited always, but she'll never be here. It's been 2 years. Jay Bradford, neighbor next door.
Morning.
I cannot express how much the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce had XE Media Designs back during COVID. I'm where I'm at now in my business, in my multiple businesses, because they helped me stay afloat during those times. Thank you all. Jay was
So
in his
nice.
office hanging out for like an hour and a half yesterday. I had no idea it was his birthday.
Oh,
Last night
happy
at like
birthday.
1 a.m., I'm on Facebook. I'm like, what am I doing? Anyway,
I'm really bad about birthdays too, so I'm
Oh,
sure I
geez.
didn't make a post, but happy birthday, Jay. Sorry.
Happy birthday,
I'm
Jay.
disconnected from that kind of stuff.
I texted the other Lisa, our camera operator, happy birthday the other day because it was in my phone, and she was like, "Thanks so much. It was yesterday," and I was like, "How? Why?" And then I went on Facebook and it was like blah blah blah. Like I'm always on. I'm never on looking at anything. Jay also said, little secret, XC Media Design online ordering was born during COVID because restaurants needed a way to serve via online platform, but not with the huge fees, et cetera, et cetera.
Silver lining.
The Granite Theater said, "Hey, Grey Sail, and our patrons love you."
Nice.
We and our patrons love you. Antonella said, "Selling handmade Lily Pulitzer masks during COVID kept us in business. And in return, we were able to support small businesses, restaurants by purchasing and rallying gift certificates for the 25 days of Christmas. I think we did that for 3 years. It was a great feeling to be able to help the community." And Dina Marie, she also said, she clarified later, not only masks, blah, blah, blah. But thank you, Antonella. And Dina said, Dina Ferry said, "Love your suit, Lisa."
Oh, well, thank you.
It's a great color.
Excuse me.
That's funny.
So anyway, those were our comments. What is coming up? What's new at Grey Sail that we could plug or talk about?
So much going on. So you mentioned the non-alcoholic beer. We are in development right now. Alan has the equipment, very fancy equipment, running and doing some trials and kind of dialing in on the formulation. So that'll be coming not too far ahead. So hopefully early 2025.
Oh wow! I didn't know how. I had no idea how long
as I
that
say
took.
that, I'm thinking if he's listening, he's probably like, "What are you saying?"
It's an estimate.
But,
it's an estimate.
Yeah.
So it's a goal, I guess. It's a goal.
He was in here the other day, and he was like, "That could take a very long time. Please don't."
Yeah.
I think he's hoping it takes a long time.
No. He's the technical one. I am not. I am the behind the scenes, support for the business, and he is. He's amazing. He does all his knowledge and ability just never ceases to amaze me by any means. But he is so from us internally, that's what we're looking at. We are partnering with Outer Light Brewing in Connecticut. It's the worst kept secret around. We are in the final stages. It is out there, and we're excited about it. Tom had started Outer Light. Great guy, and we're looking forward to partnering with him and just kind of helping out with some of the infrastructure stuff that we've been fortunate to develop, especially with our team. Where we are. I mentioned how Josh, had started.
You're an incubator.
Brewery,
You're an incubator.
But our staff, Daniel Rivera has been with us since before we opened the brewery. I mean, literally, like when I was working out of my house office, and we were doing the build out and working on the building, and he runs the operations basically. So he does all the production planning with the guys and the logistics and what's getting on a truck when and et cetera. And this is going to be great because it gives him another brewery under his umbrella. And it gives Outer Light, that person who they need to kind of spearhead that part of it to help the growth of the brand. And then Carrie, our sales director, Michelle Clark, who was Michelle Kerms when she started with us. It's been great. She's been with us since right before Superstorm Sandy, I think is when she started, actually.
And one of the first female brewers.
Yes.
In Rhode Island.
She was a journalist. She's got great grammar. I love her. It's one of those connections we have.
Bonus.
Which you don't see a lot of. So she started with us to do events and just some fun stuff. And she's still phenomenal at that stuff. But then when Josh had left and she had been the assistant brewer, she became the head brewer and really was one of the first head brewers in the state,
Yep.
in the region, really. And she did a phenomenal job. And then, she took another tack and wanted to go back into marketing. And it suited more with what she wanted to do. And Rich, who was kind of the assistant brewer at the time, has become the head brewer and does a phenomenal job. And we're just really, really lucky, blessed to have all of these staff members who are truly just
loyal and dedicated
and really make everything
multi-talented,
really make everything run. And they know the business inside out. So this partnership, I see it as a great partnership and great for the brands, but also it really will enable staff to have more growth opportunity, more development. And one thing I love about Outer Light is, and as you know, I'm a huge veteran supporter.
Yes, absolutely.
All things, men and women who are in active duty or who are veterans. And Outer Light has this great connection with their base there, which is, they're right by the naval base.
Sure.
They're right by EB. And it's this just great, again, community, really great local community that they have that I really look forward to learning more about, supporting more, and growing that relationship. So, and they do a phenomenal job with it. So very excited about that.
Awesome. Upcoming events.
Yeah. So
We got a lot.
we'll just cover the ones in the next few days because otherwise it gets a little kooky.
Yep.
But obviously in 2 days we'll be in Stonington at 4:30. We turn on the lights for the lobster trap tree, and there'll probably be 5,000 to 6,000 people when the lights go on, and then throughout the night cycling through a variety of folks. There's a free shuttle available. So if you can't find a parking space right there at the field next to the tree, hop on the free shuttle at the Velvet Mill. And it'll bring you back and forth. Lobstertraptree.com for more information about that.
What time should our camera get there?
I think you should be there at least an hour in advance.
I was going to say like 10 a.m.
No, I mean, I'll be there early afternoon, but
Okay.
I mean, at least an hour and a half for sure.
Cool.
And then right around the corner, we will have small business. We'll have Santa's Arrival. On the Friday after Thanksgiving at 6:00, right behind me, Dixon Square, the heart of our downtown. We're really big on honoring tradition at the chamber, whether it's supporting others that are honoring tradition, like the Columbus Day Parade, or whether it's our own traditions, like this event that's been going on since way before I came to the organization. We now have, grandparents that go to the event with their grandchildren, and they remember seeing the fire trucks come whirling around the corner when they were a child, and the handing out of free coloring books and crayons. And I want to thank Bella Vita Salon for the coloring books, Ritacco Electric for the crayons, and then we have free either lollipops or candy canes every year. So kids, while they're waiting in line for their chance to meet Santa, there's about 15 other characters, Winter Lady, Frosty, Rudolph, and everyone else. So it's a really magical night.
My kids went from attending it,
to volunteering at it,
now volunteering to be the ones to
handing out the good stuff
and coloring books.
And it's fun to be a part of it. It is.
Yeah.
And we're always trying to get good pictures of some of these events too, to document what we're having, and good video for our 100th anniversary. So we can do a little sizzle reel maybe of some of the things that we do. So those are right around the corner. And then Small Business Saturday, we have some helpers that will be distributing $10 gift certificates out and about throughout this 2-state region that we serve. and handing those gift certificates out, thanking you when we catch you at the register, making a purchase. We also have a ribbon cutting this Saturday at 1:00, and it's for Santa's Sleigh Station in Mystic, which is the newly converted taqueria that has been reimagined. As their owner says, imagine Santa threw up. That's what it looks like. There's just Christmas in every corner of interior, exterior. You'll hurt your eyes when you or have a seizure when you drive by that corner on Broadway out by the train station in Mystic. It's quite incredible. So we're going to be there at 1:00 to kick it off, even though it did have a soft opening already. You can go and check it out now before it gets super busy. And it looks beautiful. Also, Cinder Restaurant right here on Main Street.
Yeah.
They're having a whole day of activities this Saturday. It starts at 11:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
They're celebrating their 3rd anniversary. When you're a new business, every anniversary matters. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's not just the big ones like the 20 and the
Absolutely.
10.
Yep.
So good for them. They're doing music, games, a taco truck. They're doing a bunch of fun things. So check that out. And we'll be at Cinder in the morning too. So lots happening just over the next few days.
Wow. You guys ever get tired?
No.
I do. I'm not afraid to.
I just looked at Jen's
I
eyes,
walked in tired.
and we were like,
I mean,
I
not-
don't know what Lisa's talking about. We're tired.
Not tired of the good
No,
stuff.
Yes, no.
Not tired of the work.
I
Not
just meant
tired of
physically.
like, what's the next cool thing? What's the
Yes.
next great?
I'm not
Like,
afraid to admit it. Yes.
no, believe me. When I was on vacation, I think I told you this or someone recently offline. I was so relaxed, and I'm sure it's like PTSD from the cycle that I work in.
Yeah.
I fell asleep in the rain on a day like this in
You
the
did, you
jacuzzi
told-
for
yeah.
over an hour, and
Yeah.
they had to like check on me to see if I had a medical issue because I was that relaxed. So yes, I do get tired, but I guess I don't get tired of the work. I don't get tired
No,
of
you're
creating the
very
new
motivated.
stuff.
Very
And
motivated.
it's always like, what's that next thing that's going to jazz up our community and create foot traffic and get people excited and wanting to do good things and supporting our economic base, but in creative, clever ways that are unique to us.
I love it. Go to the oceanchamber.org, which you can click in the link, excuse me, in the description of this episode. You can also go to greysailbrewing.com and check out all of that wonderful things that they're doing. All of that is in the description of this episode. So all you have to do is scroll down and click from where you're watching right now. Guys, thank you so much for being
Thank you.
here.
Thanks
I
for the
appreciate
opportunity.
it.
Thank you, Jen, for all that you do.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to 5% of what Jen and Grey Sail do.
No.
I've seen her on a ladder, scraping paint. I mean, she's so hands-on and so helpful. And that's the physical stuff, not the leadership stuff in the boardroom, the strategic thinking, the big picture. I can't underscore enough how I consider her not just a friend, not just a great leader, but a mentor, like somebody that I learned from in terms of how she conducts herself. And we like to use the phrase a citadel of ethics. That's what our chamber is. And I know when I talk with Jen about a situation or scenario that she's going to take a hard line on things, as I do too, because you want it ethically to be right on point. And I rely on her as our barometer for that. And I thank you
I'm never
for always
shy to
being there.
speak up when it's
And I appreciate
on
it.
any situation, right?
I love it. Thank you guys so much for being here. Lisa, we'll see someone from the chamber next Thursday.
Sure.
And another board member, and I'm very excited about that. And we will see you guys on Saturday for the lobster trap tree lighting.
All right. Have a great week.
Thank you guys so much
thank
for
you.
being here. We'll be back later
bright
today
outside
with some
now.
more stuff. It's getting getting
brighter.
better out. It's getting better. And we will be covering, by the way, the JV football game tonight. We don't usually cover a lot of JV football games, but it is the Thanksgiving preview. It is Stonington versus Westerly JV tonight on the football field, and it's at Sal Augeri Field, and that is at 6:30 p.m. So check that out. We will be live with that here on 321, especially if you don't want to go because it's going to be pouring rain. But also go and support the kids. But if not, watch here. I don't care.
Talk about a great tradition. That is
The Thanksgiving.
you could do a whole day show on that. Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to do multiple of them probably. We already started. Jacob Aruda, one of our announcers, got some of the kids in, and he's just sort of cycling through as many of the kids on both sides as he possibly can. It's really nice having a 19-year-old that just recently graduated that's working as a broadcaster, because he can really relate to the kids in a different way, and it's a lot of fun watching that. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to Jen and
Have
Lisa.
a great day.
Bye for now.
Hi, this is Dan from Lathrop Insurance. In this challenging insurance environment, Lathrop Insurance can be your beacon in the storm to help you find the coverage you need at the right price. Now, more than ever, you need a partner in the insurance industry that can work with multiple carriers to make sure you have the right coverage at the right price. Lathrop Insurance carries home, auto, and business insurance and can be reached at 401-596-2525. We've been supporting the local community since 1939, and we look forward to working with you.